Hi, everyone. My name is Krista. I'm here as Practical Astros on behalf of Estera Sophia Kairos. I'm going to pull some tarot cards for the rising signs for this full moon in Cancer happening at the end of this week, January 3rd. We're going to start off 2026 with a full moon in Cancer. The moon only has one home, and that's in Cancer. So it's a pretty special full moon whenever it happens. I've just separated the major arcana from the minor arcana. So I'm going to pull from these 22 cards for the rising signs. And this will bring in either an element itself or a planet and or a sign. That's how the 22 majors kind of split up that way. So I'll just give a couple of keywords for each one. This will be a short and sweet video. We won't be going into the full delineation of where a full moon is happening in your chart, but I will use it for the rising signs. Whatever house Cancer is in your chart, this card will speak to. So to begin with all of these majors, I'm going to pull for Aries. Aries has the High Priestess. In most tarot correspondences, and this is the one that I follow, the High Priestess represents the moon. And for Aries, Cancer is the fourth house. That is the house of home. This is the illumination. If we think of full moon illuminates light in a certain area, it captures as much light as possible. This full moon is looking at illuminating the area of home for Aries risings, what's going on there, what maybe do you need to see, what corners have been shadowed. That loving full moon in Cancer is really illuminating and letting you see fully what's down there in the basement of the fourth house for you. For Taurus risings, Cancer is the third house. This is the house where the moon finds her joy. And we get the Emperor. The Emperor is Aries in the tarot correspondences. And I like the Emperor as being one that takes responsibility and has some authority. It's a bit serious, which Taurus risings can have that that tenor about them. That there is a with the moon in the third house is the house of siblings and locality and neighborhood. It can be like the education of young children. It can be kind of the personal ritual that you have in your own environment. In ancient times, it would be like a local grotto to the goddess that you would visit on a daily basis, or a Shinto shrine to honor the kami in your village. And with the moon there, the full moon there, what is it that you may need to be taking some authority or taking a bit more seriously about just your own personal ritual? How do you connect with the lunar themes in your life? The full moon just illuminates that light in that area for you. And the Emperor is kind of putting a bit of serious tone to it. Maybe you want to level up your own ritual work and start with like the trees in your yard or the immediate environment around you. You don't have to do these grand things to take something seriously. It can be very humble. For Gemini risings, I have the Strength card, which is Leo. This is about fidelity and keeping true to things. And Cancer is your second house. Is your second house of skill and money. What is it that maybe you need to be a little bit more steady with? Geminis are mutable, and there's a tendency to flip back and forth, and bringing some stability and some fidelity and consistency to the area of money. The full moon is here. The moon in the second house can just signify the spending of money or the evaluation of money. I like the moon in the second, the moon at home in the second. Maybe some good fortune will come your way with this full moon, having that there, and to do something responsible and diligent in a strength card sort of way might be what the answer is if something falls in your lap. All right, for Cancers, we get the Hermit card. The Hermit card is Virgo in the tarot correspondence. And interestingly, Virgo is the third house for Cancer risings. The third house is where the moon finds her joy. And, so many Cancer rising people I know, they do have a hermit quality to them. They will be very loving and accepting and wanting to take care of other people, but they like to crawl into their hermit crab shell. And there might be a tension with this full moon because full moons are social times. They're a time of, usually of gathering, but there's a bit of exhaustion for this one for Cancer risings, I could see. The South Node is in the third house. And so maybe you're tired of socializing with your inner circle. And so there's a sense of wanting to bring the light back to just you. So if you need permission to stay home for any sort of weekend plans that first weekend of January, Cancer risings, you have my permission. For Leo risings, I have the Fool card. The story of Tarot is the Fool's journey, and this is the zero card, the beginning and the end card for Tarot. There is a bit of foolishness for Leo risings. They might be the silliest of all the signs, even though you could have a royal or regal appearance at first. Cancer, where the full moon is in your 12th house. And this is a kind of a house of the unseen. This can be a subconscious house or a dreamy house, not allowing the heaviness of a full moon in the 12th to overtake you and maybe give you maybe a get out of jail free card for this full moon. It might feel a little psychologically intense. And to bring in that full card, that full energy of trying to keep things light, taking care of oneself, making sure oneself is safe, not put yourself in truly foolish situations, but bring that levity to this full moon, because it could be that a lot of things are weighing on your mind for Leo risings. For Virgo risings, I got the Devil. The Devil is Capricorn, and the Devil can be about the temptation that we have to fall into routine or things that are comfortable. It can be falling into the desire of vice. Capricorn is the fifth house for Virgo. But the full moon is in Cancer, which is in your 11th house. And so this could show just maybe that tension of the Capricorn and Cancer houses for you, that personal pleasure versus being in kind of larger group pleasure. Being in a big community event versus wanting to just be at home and doing your own thing. I could see this as being a pretty fun time for Virgos. Having the moon up there in the 11th. The Jupiter is in Cancer right now. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And for Virgo risings, that's in the 11th house. Jupiter finds their joy in the 11th house. So while the South Node is in your first, South Node is in Virgo currently, and will be for a while longer this coming year. Having Jupiter up there in the 11th, really doing some good work with mentors and friends in high places, and just really trying to activate your own dreams through the networks that you are connected to. Having the moon there really illuminating all the work that's been done. And you might find that you just want to kind of go and enjoy yourself and do things for the sake of pleasure and not for the sake of networking. For Libra risings, I've got the Star. The Star is Aquarius, which is also the fifth house. So both Virgo and Libra have like a fifth house pleasure seeking full moon story happening. The moon for Libra risings when it's in Cancer is in the 10th. So there's an illumination of that 10th house, that most visible house in the chart. There is maybe there's a highlighted focus on work or the things that you do for work or how you were known, how you were visible, how you were seen. There might be a bit of exposure here. Jupiter's up there in the 10th too. So it's not necessarily a negative exposure, but maybe you don't want that exposure and you just kind of want to, again, like Virgo, just kind of be in your own joy. So the focus may be on work, and you might just have to find that balance of the illumination of work and the desire to want to just be in your own pleasure. The Star card is about transforming after the Tower card. That's the sequence that they happen in. And the star is really lovely for thinking about um, transitions from one to another. The star person on the card has one foot in the water and one foot on earth, and they are channeling the water. So there's um, the representation of multiple worlds happening simultaneously, and maybe that's what this full moon is with this card is showing is how do you bring in the area of work and the area of pleasure for you for Libra risings. For Scorpio risings, we have the moon. That is lovely. The moon in Tarot, the moon card in Tarot, it's actually Pisces. The high priestess is the moon in the Tarot correspondences. So for Scorpio risings, Cancer is the ninth house. We have Jupiter up there now. And again, the moon card is Pisces is the fifth house for Scorpio rising. So this is a third in a row to have a little pleasure seeking house while the full moon is happening. And if we blend all three water houses together, so Scorpio risings, we have the full moon in the ninth and Cancer, and then we have the moon card, which is Pisces in the fifth house. This is bringing that trinity of water to Scorpio risings. So it really is bringing that flow. And we have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. We have Jupiter in Cancer. And then we have Scorpio rising. So there's flow, there's momentum between the ninth house of belief and higher thought, and this fifth house of pleasure and joy. And this is the house that Venus finds her joy in. So what is it about the full moon that illuminates that momentum of, are you creating and finding pleasure in the things that you believe? And Scorpio risings do like to uncover truths. So may this full moon illuminate the truths that you so enjoy to reveal. For Sagittarius risings, we have the Tower. The Tower card is Mars corresponding in astrology. So the Tower is scary to look at, but the Tower is necessary. It's after the Tower that we get the Star card. And for Sagittarius, the Cancer house is the eighth house. This is Adam Ellenboss calls it like the blood bank. It's what you put in and what you can take out. You're not necessarily operating this on all on your own. It's on the other axis of that second house of skill and personal resource. It's like the financial ties that we have with one another. And the full moon in this house here might show some of the fate or the karma of how you're related to other people, and you might feel a little helpless with it. Having the Tower here, the Tower is Mars. And if we think of Mars, it's currently in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and this is your second house of your own skill. So this is opposing that full moon. And so maybe it's a reminder that you have the skill yourself to have agency when maybe you think that you don't during this full moon. And if you start to feel like things are happening to you, think about what you can control or what you can influence and just focus on that and let the rest fall where they may. For Capricorn risings, the full moon's happening in your seventh house. And the card that wants to come is Death. Death is the Scorpio card. Death is about transformation. It is part of the cycle of life. Death, like the Tower card, can be a little intimidating to some people, but death is nothing to be feared. It is part of the Saturnian existence. Scorpio is the 11th house for Capricorn risings. And so, is there some sort of transformation or some sort of mutation, transmutation, or evolution that is happening in that house of friends with resources, friends in high places, networking, mentoring, the mycelium of social engagement? The moon is going to be in your seventh house of others. So this really does speak to illuminating that house of relationships for you. And maybe some relationships are coming to a new form of themselves. Maybe this full moon will represent a change in relationships that you have. And maybe that's related to that 11th house of mentors and people that you look up to. Maybe you yourself become somebody that other people look up to just through your own transformation. All right, moving to Aquarius rising. Cancer is the sixth house for Aquarius risings, and the Lovers card came up. Once again, this is bringing in the fifth house of pleasure. So the Lovers represent Gemini, and Gemini is the fifth house for Aquarius risings. So while the moon is illuminated in the sixth house of the grind, the chop wood, carry water, the daily ritual, it's also the house of pets, or at least animals smaller than a goat, I think. Um, Household pets versus farm animals, which is the 12th house. Um, the moon is illuminating that sixth house of the grind, but then the card that is being pulled in is that fifth house of pleasure. And so maybe there's some compartmentalization that happens during this full moon. Like maybe you're supposed to be responsible for the the ritualistic things, but you rebel and you just go for what brings you pleasure, which I don't blame for you at all. All right. Last but not least, we have Pisces. We have the World card. The World is both elemental earth in Tarot, and it is Saturn. And you have Saturn in your first house. The full moon is happening in your fifth. And so it may feel heavy. It might have seemed heavy while Saturn has been in your first house for these last 2+ years. But when the moon goes into your fifth house of pleasure, you have a full all-inclusive ticket to just be in the space that brings you ease. Saturn is going to leave your first house and go into Aries, as is Neptune, fairly soon. And maybe this full moon, you can just kind of take stock of like, what is it that brings me true pleasure? And just really fall into that easefulness of it. That is it. Thank you so much for listening to this full moon tarot divination for the rising signs. My name is Krista, Practical Astros. I'm here for Astera Sophia Kairos. And in 2026, we're going to be doing things like this, not necessarily the weekly forecasts, but other creative things. So thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time.